Hello, my name is David Shelby, and this is a video that I produced for City University's Doctrine of Business Administration Class 605. It discusses a franchise that was family-owned and sold to a corporation, the changes that took place with the employees, the managers, and the customers, as well as the work environment, the culture, the policies, and procedures. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you enjoy it. There are two types of models that I've seen as part of the takeover between the franchise being bought out by the corporate office and the corporate-owned business model. The family-owned model meant the owner was part of the team and the culture. He'd meet with us one-on-one or as a group. Sometimes he would meet with us with management. Other times he'd just want to talk without the management there. He'd come to my desk at times and compliment me. He'd provide me with valuable advice and problem solving. And his office was always open. If he was in his office, I could knock on the door. He'd look at me and I'd look at him and say, "You got a few minutes? I have a question." And he'd invite me into his office and we'd sit and talk about it. Now the franchise has been bought out by the corporate office. There's a new business structure, the corporate business model of Max Weber. According to Alder, Max Weber presented a management method that controls the workforce by a highly bureaucratic organizational method. CEO and executives are leaders giving commands to managers to carry out the leader's vision, goals, and mission. Managers then divide the work up and direct the workers in their team or under their control to perform the tasks needed to complete the work. Research has shown this method creates alienation amongst the workforce. One of the first things I noticed in the change of culture is office managers who micromanaged us in the past are now called office leaders. According to Berrien and Duchovny, office leaders do not manage self-regulated employees, but motivate them, challenge them, provide a favorable environment, and give them confidence to perform at 100%. They support the work group as well as the individual. But like a manager, the goal is to keep the employee focused on the vision of the organization. Specifically, the vision of the leader handed down to the managers for the future of the organization. From what I've seen, I do believe the office leaders are a better choice over managers, as long as the leader possesses the necessary skills. I did talk with an office leader and asked him his take about the whole thing and working with us. And he said one of the major differences that you'll find between office managers and office leaders is that office managers at times would sit at the desk and help us work with us about what we should do with the software and changes we need to make in the system. The office leaders is going to be more encouraging us to do it on our own or get us to call IT support. They're there to lead the office, not to actually work with the employees in doing their jobs. With the new corporate owner comes a new term to us that I've never heard used around the office: company policy. New hiring process, there's a new training process, and a work environment that follows company policy. The hiring process has changed. The old way was the interview would be conducted with the manager and the new hire. The manager would put all the files together into a folder and inter-office the folder to the hiring IT guy who's in charge of putting the information to the computer. After the account was set up and everything was done necessary in order so the new hire could log in and use the software, he would then forward the file, the new employee's file, over to the HR department for archiving. The new method the corporate office is using is the confidentiality, integrity, and availability method. It's also used in data security, which requires the hiring manager to fax back east, in my case being here in Tacoma, Washington, back east to the corporate office all the new files and documents for the office workers that are now hired. These are faxed to a department which is the confidentiality department. They hold like the Social Security number, the birth date, any private information, and then after withholding that information, they will forward the file with the non-private information to the integrity department. That department activates the employee, and also if you fire an employee, you can call the department up and have them instantly locked out. Once the information is set up in the computer system so the person is activated as an employee, the file is then forwarded over to the availability department. That department handles the website features and resources. Like if somebody's hired to work the front desk and their responsibility is operating the cash register as well as setting up appointments, they're not going to need access to management files, so they will be set up in the system as a front desk person. The problem which I've seen with this process is new hires get lost in the system. For example, when I started there and they changed over from the old system to the new system, I had to be reactivated in the new system. The only problem is, what department do you call to find out why I haven't been activated and given the availability to get into the website to use the software? And I was on hold for about an hour till we finally figured out where I needed to call and who I needed to talk with to get activated. And I couldn't do it. The regional manager ended up having to do it. The solution that I see to this problem is have a tracking method like you see for shipping a package. So for example, you want to change the hiring date. The manager goes online and says, okay, this employee I wanted to hire in 2 weeks, I'm going to start them working tomorrow, and find out where the file is. Oh, the file's over here, it's in Integrity. Then they call up Integrity and say, hey, I've changed the hiring date of this employee. Could you tell confidentiality that the date is tomorrow, and could you activate them and forward the file over for availability so they can get in the system tomorrow? Training. Training is now online except for hands-on software training, where you sit in a room and watch the instructor show us students how to operate the software to get the results that they want, the data to be put in it and the data in, the data out. Timekeeping was the first thing we learned about in training. The timekeeping accountability is the strictest I've ever seen. If you do not clock in or clock out properly, you could be subject to termination. Referring back to Alder's research, Max Weber not only wanted leadership to administer direction by their expertise, but also administer discipline to those not following the rules. I think of all of us who received an email for not punching out or not approving our time card at the end of the pay period. I suggested to the office leader a reminder note on the employee exit door. On the exit door when you leave the office it says, turn off the coffee maker. I'm going to stick a note up that says, don't forget to punch out and approve your time card if necessary. I don't know, we'll see if it sticks. Town hall meetings. All town hall meetings have been canceled. We used to get together with the owner or the managers at least once a month in the back room and just have a meeting where we sit around and talk shop. If an employee has an idea, it would be group discussed. However, with leadership across the country now, they've decided not to have any more town meetings. Plus, it also costs money. You could imagine if you're having a meeting after hours, you have to pay the people to be there, you have to pay the staff to keep the lights on in the building, and rather than having people go home. So they're just saying it's better now just to cancel all town hall meetings. According to Acthier, research shows that when leaders, managers, employees, and customers are not properly handled, managers and employees separate from each other, and several of them normally quit. Research shows that only 17% of acquisitions are financially profitable. Most fail because of a poor leadership style. One way to be successful is to maximize involvement. Simons says town hall meetings are used for communicating plans and discuss organizational changes. If a lot of changes are going to be made, town hall meetings are very beneficial. One thing that I haven't had an opportunity to do yet, which I'm going to do, is suggest web meetings to discuss changes. That we can get together with someone back east who's in management and just kind of discuss about the changes going on and get their opinion, or leave them at least with our thoughts of some changes that we like to make to improve the system. Web simulation. In the past, training was carried out one-on-one. We'd go to the classroom, we'd pair off in separate one-on-one, and we'd have a script that we'd read to each other, and we would discuss the script and discuss what's going on. Sometimes we would read off script, other times we would just follow the script. But it was an opportunity to interact with each other. The new way of doing it is having video simulation. Video simulation is where there's characters on the screen that are setting up a scenario and that we're just listening to the scenario. However, the scenarios that is going on in these videos are based on positive outcomes, not the angry client that demands a refund and won't listen. Training should include giving a refund and dealing with hurt feelings. As a company policy, we do offer discount to save a full refund, but no simulation training about it. One of the biggest complaints I hear from our customers is our product is more expensive than our competitors. CINA research shows that service industry makes up 70% of America's gross product. A main part of what customers want is a good experience. This not only means making sure they have the value of what they receive, but also what they are paying for is competitive. We are instructed to show the customer the value of the product, but the biggest complaint I hear is the service is too expensive. If price is losing customers, then revalue the price. In fact, sales are down due to how expensive our products are. Company inner survey shows we are losing customers monthly, and believe it or not, they blame the worker, me, for not showing value. My response is to stop blaming me for something I do not control. I do not control the costs that we're charging the customer. And also stop giving away free services to get people in the door. 90% of the customers take the free services and leave. Like giving away a car wash with a free repair estimate. To me, it's just a waste of my time. The customer comes in, they get their free service, they leave. I think we should stop this. Now, the third change that has taken place is our work environment culture. Mashari and Vahara, in their research, has shown it is very important to communicate environmental changes to employees because 70% of change efforts fail. Employees quit. Walking in the front door, everyone clearly sees changes. My cubicle faces the street. There used to be a sign right in front of me, and then next to me there was a sunshade that hang down. The red circle shows the clips still up on the wall. Now they've taken this down and customers complained because the sun is shining in their eyes. I've complained. But what have I been told? It's company policy not to have anything on the windows. So they had to remove the sign and they also had to remove the shade. And I can tell you right now, company policy is hard to change. I have talked with the regional manager and the district manager and the office leader, and I'm hoping that when the actual big boss stops by who runs the state operations, that I can point out to him this is not acceptable. Either this is going to be an empty cubicle or you need to put something up to block the problem going on with the sun shining directly in my eyes. Another thing is we used to have open cubicles. Here's a picture of what the cubicles used to look like. We did have a divider that was about 4 feet tall. But now we have enclosed cubicles. This is what the hallway now looks like. And you know what? You still hear everything. It used to be I could look around the room to see if there was a free team member if I needed to ask a question. I look over and say, oh, he's not on the phone or he's not with a client. Good, I can go talk with him and say, hey, I'm having a question here about something I'm trying to do with the software. That doesn't work anymore. I have to get up, walk out of my cubicle, and stick my head in down each cubicle until I find a free employee to say, can I ask you a question? I think the cubicles really need to go. It needs to go back to the way it used to be. And I've even mentioned that to them, but they've told me it's company policy to have these cubicles. Breaking news. One town hall meeting and one employee interactive session has been approved. There was too many employees quitting and walking off the job that they decided to call a town meeting for all the employees to get together and walk the floor and discuss changes with the regional manager coming down from the corporate office. Now, back to our regular scheduled video. The meeting room is now a training room. It used to be that we could get together and brainstorm and make calls. We could sit there and have our lunch, or we'd sit at our desk and have the lunch. Now, corporate policy is we're not to be going back into the meeting room, which is now a training room, to be eating our lunch, because now they want to set up computers on the desk. And here's a picture. They're starting to put all the desks in with all the computers. And the other thing is, we can no longer have lunch at our desk. So for now, it's either go to our cars and eat our meal, or go over to the sink, which I've been doing is having my meal over the sink and then just washing my plates up and putting them in the dry rack. The last thing I want to point out is a corporate policy of not having more than one client file at your desk at one time. In this picture here, in the corner was a file cabinet, a 2-drawer file cabinet. When it was a franchise, we could work on files by putting them in the file cabinet and locking them up. If somebody came in, we'd lock up the file. When they leave, we'd unlock the file cabinet. We'd take the file out, we'd work on it. Someone would come in, we'd put the file back in the file cabinet, lock it up. They don't want that, so they took the file cabinets away. The file cabinets are sitting in the back, which means when I need a file, I have to go to the back, get the file, come all the way back out, work on it. A client shows up, tell them, wait a minute, I need to put the file away. I go all the way to the back, put the file away, come all the way back out. Yes, I'm serious. That's the way they want it done now. The problem is my phone cord is not long enough to sit on my desk. So when they took the file cabinet away, I had to pull the little cabinet they gave me in its place out enough so I could put the phone on top of that. Another problem is you have to sit it cockeyed, because if it sits up against the wall the way they want it to sit, you can't open the bottom up to get to my files, the forms you give to your customers and anything else like that, note paper, envelopes. I can't get to them without cockeying the file box they gave me. So this is just a perfect example of somebody saying, let's make this change, without actually sitting down at the desk and saying, how is this change going to affect the employee? And so in closing, I like to say that anytime a manager wants to make a change, even though it looks really good in their mind, they should sit down and ask themselves, how is this change going to affect the employee? Well, thank you for watching my video about a franchise that was owned by a family that sold to the corporation. The differences that took place with the work environment, the cultures, the policies, procedures, as well as how it affects the employees, management, and customer. And if you know somebody that owns a business and they're talking about selling it to a corporation, this video hopefully will prepare you to discuss with them the changes they can expect to take place and how they can prepare the employees, managers, as well as the customers, so that way they will accept the changes and be part of the change that's taken place. Thank you, and have a nice day.